Okay.
Professional.
Robert Earl Dean, we
Yes,
have
sir.
a good one with us today.
My
Let's
God.
talk about this.
Okay, y'all. For those of you out there, if you saw my Facebook Live yesterday, I told you to get ready for this interview. This is a interview. This gentleman right here has one of the most amazing, powerful, and I'm going to say anointed voices that you and I have heard probably in ever. This dude is so powerful, man. And he was singing R&B and gospel, but they both sound the same. So he's a gospel R&B singer.
We just
That's what I call
we
him.
just went in no matter when he
Yes,
opened his mouth.
no
We're like,
matter what.
Jesus.
And I was a young man listening to 92.1 in San
No,
Diego,
92.5.
95.5
Yes.
as a teenager. And this gentleman's voice captivated me. And it's something when you're that young and somebody can stop you dead in your tracks. And you
Uh-huh.
said, who in the world? Like Natalie Cole for me
Uh-huh.
in third grade.
You're just like,
Who,
who?
who, who in the world is this? Because coming from a musical family that
Uh-huh.
I come from, you learn how to dissect music and you learn how to embrace it and it hits you in ways that it don't hit normal people.
Uh-huh.
So when his music was played on the radio, man, I had to pause.
Did you start shouting with your hard bottom shoes on?
No, I didn't show up about the shoes, but I had to pause
Uh-huh.
because I had to know at that young age who in the world is this.
The Saints all pause.
Yes, and let me tell you, I found out who he was, and I've been a fan ever since. The incomparable, the voice of Mr. Glenn Jones. Welcome to the Wake Up Morning Show with Dr. LT and the Robert Earl Dean Report.
Thank you. Good morning. Good morning. Did you just say the Saints all pause?
I had to say it because he was like said he said he had to pause, and I'm like saying so the Saints all pause.
Yes, yes, sir. Thanks, all pause. Man, good
Oh
morning.
man. Thank you.
I want to start off by saying to you, brother, Robert O'Dean has been working my nerves all week long. Ever since the interview got scheduled, he has been on cloud nine. So welcome to the Wake Up Morning Show. It is the day that we've been waiting for quite some time to be actually in your presence to hear from you, my friend.
Thank you. I appreciate that. From what I understand, are you in Jacksonville?
We're in San Diego, California.
San Diego. Okay. I don't know why I thought it was coming from Jacksonville. But uh, San Diego, I used to come out there and do gigs. I used to play a spot called Smokies, I believe was the name of it.
Yeah,
Yes,
Smokey Gaines, the
Smokey Gaines
coach.
used to be the coach of
Yeah.
San Diego State's basketball team.
Yeah, years ago. So, it's just it's good to be here. It's good to be alive,
Yes.
and I feel blessed, and I've been looking forward to doing this interview.
Now, when did you get started? How did you get started?
Oh man, typical story, in church,
Yes, sir.
because my mother was serious about church. She was a missionary, and she was the superintendent of the Sabbath school because I grew up in a Pentecostal Seventh Day Adventist church.
Gotcha.
So every Saturday morning, 8:30, I was at the church passing out the hymnals and the Sabbath school lesson books, and I started singing in church. And eventually, I met a group from Jacksonville, Florida, which is my hometown, and they needed a lead singer. And this was when I was like 10, 11 years old, because they came to our church one Sunday, which we used to have special programs on Sunday.
Hmm.
And I opened up for them, and they heard me sing. And then the next thing I know, they were contacting my mother to ask her if I could, be a part of the group. And, you know, uh, fortunately, my mother agreed to let me do it. And I did that until I started my own group called the Modulations. And a few years after I started the group, Reverend James Cleveland, had a meeting with him. I went out to California to do some church gigs, and he invited me and my group over to his house, and we got around the piano and started singing. And the next thing I know, he was taking me in the studio to record an album on Savoy Records.
So you had a solo album, a gospel album?
Yeah, I got two. The first one is called With the Made Up Mind, Glenn Jones and the Modulations. And then the second one is called Feel the Fire, Glenn Jones and the Modulations.
So Brother
Wow.
Jones, I'm gonna ask you this question because when I was watching the Temptations movie and they was trying to come up with their names and they had all this the Elgins and all these things to come up with. How did you come up with the modulations?
Right.
Well, it's I was used to hearing that from a musical perspective.
Right.
You modulate, you go up
Right.
higher, higher, another key, another key. So I just said, okay, the modulations.
Okay.
Okay, so how did you go from doing the gospel thing transitioning into R&B? Because one thing about you, there are a few artists that R&B ish but still are effective in on the gospel side.
Yeah.
You, the Kelly Prices, the Fantasias, the Aretha Franklins, the Sam Cooks.
Yeah.
How did you transition from gospel into that?
Well, basically, I stayed the same pretty much. I mean,
Hmm.
I did learn some things, in R&B, which were a little different from gospel.
Hmm.
But even in my writing, my approach to writing songs, I pretty much stayed with the same thing because it was about writing about love,
Yes.
And for me, whether that was, between a man and a woman
Hmm.
or, your higher power, uh, love is love,
Right.
and love is kind, love is patient, love is long suffering, all of that.
Yes.
And I wrote the same way I was writing when I was writing, songs for my gospel group.
Which makes sense because there's such a huge correlation with Thomas Dorsey being the one who created
Oh,
quote unquote gospel. He was a jazz
yeah,
and blues artist. So you're going
I
to hear the
know. Yeah,
similarities.
right. Yeah, exactly, exactly.
So let me ask you this question. Let's talk about the experiences that you had on your gospel side, and then how did it shift or did it shift when you actually went into the R&B side so far as your experience with people, with performances in venues, all of that?
Well, the venues they changed, because back when I started doing gospel, a lot of the gospel shows were like, in small venues,
Hmm.
even in high schools sometimes,
Hmm.
because the era that I came up in, I was around Shirley Caesar and the Mighty Clouds of Joy and the
Right.
Dixie Hummingbirds and all of those people. So that changed. And, I was a struggling gospel artist,
Yes.
so I guess a little less time. A little less time sleeping in the van
Right.
and eat bologna sandwiches,
Right. Sardines, as the caravan said.
Yeah, I paid my dues, and I knew the caravans. I knew, I was around them. Matter of fact, friend of mine, Mickey Howard, her mother,
Oh yes.
Josie, was a caravan. I
Yes.
knew Albertina Walker really well.
Yes.
Uh, um, uh, 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 Shirley Caesar, uh, you know, and it it changed, even from a production standpoint,
Hmm.
the level of being able to record music and really have quality product. Because back when I was with Savoy, they would give me like a $4,000 budget to do a whole album.
4,000.
So you go in the studio and just kill yourself because I was writing the songs and playing guitar. So we get in the studio. I gotta teach the guys the song, and I'm singing it,
Hmm.
and then by the time they're ready for me to do my final vocal, I'm like my throat is wore out.
Right.
I'm hoarse,
Hmm.
but it was a special time because I was a young man getting an opportunity to do his own music,
Hmm.
music that God had given me these songs and
Hmm.
the lyrics and the music. So it was great.
Okay, so how did you start? What was the first song you wrote on the R&B side for your first solo album? Let's talk about transitioning from gospel, getting your first deal on the R&B side. Tell me the process of you writing that music and getting your first song played on radio.
Well, actually, the first R&B song that I wrote for, I actually didn't get credit for it. There's a jazz musician named Norman Connors.
Yep,
and
heard of them.
and he had heard my Feel the Fire album, my gospel album, and he loved it. He loved it. So I flew to DC and met him. He was about to go to Los Angeles to do a project. He did an album called Take It to the Limit, and he had a song called Melancholy Fire that he needed a male vocalist for. So he asked me if I would consider doing it. So I flew out there, and I had never done R&B before, and you know. I was really just, conflicted, man. I was like, I'm gonna do it. No, I ain't gonna do it.
Right.
I'm gonna do it. No, I ain't gonna do it.
Right.
When I got out in Cali, I kept going back and forth. He had given me the song, so I rewrote. I rewrote the verses.
Mm.
In a very inspirational, middle of the road kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually, they released that song as a second single, and that was on Arista Records, and the record just blew up. It went
Wow.
to like number 12, I think, and I started getting attention from a few labels, and that's when RCA came along and asked if I was interested to do a record with them. But back in those days, what they would do is that they would give you a demo budget.
Mm-hmm.
So they gave me a demo budget, and some of the line producers under Mtume's production company,
Mm-hmm.
they went in the studio with me, like Howard King and Hubert Eves. Hubert Eves was he was the one that co-created the D Train, Keep On, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, they produced the demo record on me, and RCA loved it, and then they signed me.
Wow.
So
So.
even after that,
Mhm.
when I recorded my first record for RCA, it was still a very inspirational kind of record, because the first song that I released was a song called "I Am Somebody," which was written by a guy named Concy Gardner from Nashville, Tennessee,
And
and
the
he was,
universe is mine.
excuse me.
And the universe is mine.
Yeah.
I'm
Because
a
Dr.
fan.
Bobby
I'm a
Jones,
fan though.
he
I'm a fan. See.
Yeah. So
Yes, sir.
Dr. Bobby Jones, after I recorded it, he recorded it,
Mhm.
and then I released the second single. It was actually an EP, on the first project from RCA, and I released a second single called "Keep On Doing," which was a very inspirational song. Al McKay from Earth, Wind and Fire, he produced that,
Wow.
and that song featured my wife, Genovia Jeter. Well, at the time we weren't married, but Genovia Jeter Jones, and she killed it, and that was the first, R&B record, R&B project that I was signed to.
So let me ask you this question, and I'm gonna shift it a little bit.
Shift
You
it.
you, you know how an R&B singer, you say love is love. Did
Yeah.
you ever write a song about the one that got away, or the one that broke your heart, or the one that you still think about to this day?
Oh,
Ooh.
I really got to think about that, man. Because I got 13 albums, so I'm trying to think of which one.
Wow.
Because most of
13.
the songs that I wrote were always kind of like in a very romantic, positive way, kind of like a guideline, as to what a relationship should be, what the relationship should be between a man and a woman.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
And that was pretty much the direction that I was writing in. So you have to give me a minute so I can think about that. I'll come back to it.
Well, I'm gonna ask another question.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
You said your wife is also a vocalist too.
Lord have mercy.
My question to you all: what is it like in your house when you guys are being romantic when it comes down to singing? What song? What song does she hit you with, and then what song do you hit her with?
You know what, man? People always want to know that. But when you've been married for lots of years, you really don't do that no more. When I first met her, when I was courting her, I used to sing this song by Switch, "There'll Never Be a Better Love,"
Oh yes.
and I would sing and play my guitar. I would serenade her with that. But a lot of times, if we hit something, it's a gospel song.
Okay.
I'm used to being, with her and her family up in D.C. they got the porch. Everybody
Mm-hmm.
comes to the porch, and they sit on the porch. Man, they strike up. They sing gospel songs, and people be stopping and just commenting. And
Right.
matter of fact, that's her niece, which
Ayana.
is my niece. Through marriage, Iana
Yana
Crawley.
Crawley. Yes, sir.
Iana Crawley. That's where her training came from. Was on the porch.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yes.
Porch praise.
grandma and everybody. Uncles and cousins and whatever. On the
Yes.
front porch singing.
So let me ask you. I got this one. So when you got inducted and you got to the porch, did they let you sing lead or did they make you go stay over in the corner and play the guitar?
Uh, they love to hear me sing. Matter of fact, her mother wrote a song. It was an old traditional song, and I used to practice it, and I used to sing it in the shower. And she, when I would go there to stay, and she would just be like, "That boy know he can sing that song." When matter of fact, they would try to get me to sing all the time. I'd be like, "Nah, y'all go ahead. I'm playing guitar."
Right, right, right.
You know.
That's
But
cool.
but when you talk about Genovia, I have been a fan of hers from a kid too. Before I knew that you guys were married, she
Yeah.
was on Savoy, I think, as well.
Yes, yes, we were on Savoy. I did my first record on Savoy with the Made Up Mind, and then after that, they signed her. And at the time, I didn't know her, but her uncle was this legendary quartet singer named Julius Cheeks from the Nightingales, and he was on the label too. So he had a new record, and the record label needed somebody to be a backup band, a backup group for him. So I took, my guys out on the road, and then that's when I officially met her, and we, got to be, friends and everything. We started singing together because on her first album, Heaven, I played guitar and I sung on like I think 10 tracks, 11 tracks, or something like that.
Your wife, if she's listening, she is one of the most amazing female vocalists ever. I would say unsung.
Well,
Yeah, yeah, unsung. Because I'm gonna tell you, when I started working with her, that album Heaven, it was at the top of the chart for a whole year. And back in those days, they had it wasn't the Stellas, it was
Right.
the Viticus Awards.
hmm
Hmm.
And the first year she came out, she won all categories: best new artist, best album, best this, best that. So I was basically the cat that played guitar. I sung background vocals, and I would step out, and sing a song from time to time, because she would want me to sing more. And I'm not gonna lie, I was intimidated, man. She was killing it.
hmm
I'm like, no, no, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good.
So
But in working with one another, you tend to learn things from one another,
Yes.
and it evolved into a great collab.
So let me ask you this question. My wife is an artist, and we're in business together, and so I have an understanding about how our relationship works. Who really saw who first, and who made the initial contact to say this is gonna go past business, and what was that like?
Well, I mentioned her uncle Julius Cheeks. He did a live project, a live album in Washington D.C. at First Baptist of Marshall Heights,
hmm
and being that we were working with him, we went in to work with him on the record, and we were in rehearsal one day, one night, and she stepped up to the mic and sung this song called "Ain't Gonna Let My Religion Down." You need to Google that on Genovia Jeter. Man, she tore my head up. I was like, oh my God. I was like, wow. Not to mention she was, drop dead gorgeous, So I had to get my nerve up. And she
You
had
played that
some
guitar that night, huh?
yay. Yeah, I tried to. She had some younger nieces, some little nieces,
Yes.
they were real
Right.
busybodies. And they ran and told her that I was watching her. Yeah, he was looking at you. I ain't even think what they said I was looking at, but
Right.
he was looking at you. So all right, all right. Anyway, but when she got ready to do her gospel project for Savoy Records, she asked me if I would be a part of that, and I said yeah. And from that, it just you know.
See, she knew what she was doing. She said, "Look, I'm gonna have him. I'll put some money in his pocket to let him know,
Right.
that we gonna be okay together."
But she was
Yeah,
smart. She was smart
yeah,
to get one of
yeah.
the
So
best
we
best
toured
male
together,
vocalists.
man. We toured together. I was the MD. I was the driver. I was the
Yes.
road manager.
Yeah.
I was all of that.
Amen.
Now let's transition into Here I Go Again. We've only just begun.
Yeah,
Baby Come. I've been searching. Show me. How
yeah,
did all these songs, these hits, because these were R&B hits, how they just start
yeah.
rolling out like that, man?
Well, when I first started doing R&B, on my first few projects, I just kind of laid in the cut. I really didn't write anything, because I was trying to get the lay of the land.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to see what it would take to make that transition as an artist and a songwriter,
Mm-hmm.
and I had all these guys, all these people from New York, I mean, that was intimidating because you got some incredible musicians and producers and songwriters from New York. They
Mm-hmm.
knew the R&B game, more so than I did.
Mm-hmm.
So after a while, and I started thinking about the songs that I had written, on my gospel projects, particularly the Feel the Fire project. Those songs were very contemporary,
Mm-hmm.
you know. I mean, because I was listening to people like Rance Allen
Oh,
and
yes.
Andre Crouch and all those
Yes.
people. That's what I cut my teeth on, and they were inspiring me. So I started saying, well, on this next project, I'm gonna have a Glenn Jones song on it.
Right.
Hmm.
So, you know, I I wrote on trying to think of the first album I wrote. I did an album. I think it was my third album called "Take It From Me," and I co-wrote a song with the young lady Lala. Lala is the one that wrote "Show Me," but we wrote a song called "All Work" and "All Work, uh, All Play." And then I wrote a song on there called "Be My Lady," and from that point, and this is in the '80s, from that point, I just kind of stepped into those shoes and said, I'm going to start writing songs, for myself.
Right.
And that's how We've Only Just Begun came along. I co-wrote that with a guy named Timmy Allen. Uh, Here I Go Again. I wrote that, myself. I've Been Searching. I co-wrote that with Bernard Bell, who's Regina Bell's brother. He's also the co-writer. Remember the Time with
Yes.
Michael Jackson.
Yes.
So it just started that way.
Well, I'm gonna say this. For those of us that are pseudo singers, I want to appreciate you helping with our love rap back in the game, because we can put on a Glenn Jones song and do well. So all we had to do is sing underneath you, and just get a little bit of on, and we was good to go. So thank you so much for helping
Right.
Man,
brothers out.
Right.
man, you were doing the Milli Vanilli on my stuff,
Yes.
man.
Yes.
No, I was underneath. I was
Underneath.
singing so low that they could not hear me, but
Underneath.
they heard the motion of it all.
And they got the
Thank
message.
you. All right. Okay. Okay.
Okay. And you started doing plays. Let's talk about how you transitioned into the plays, the gospel plays, and the various
Oh,
plays.
that was scary, man, because I had never done a play,
Right.
and I'd really never thought about it. But at the time, I was living in New York, and I heard about this play called Sing Mahalia, and they were casting and auditioning people, and my manager pushed me to go. She took me there, and it was Richard Smallwood was actually the musical director, and he
Wow.
wrote a lot of the music, you know. So I went in and I sung, and lo and behold, they called me and told me I got the part. Now I have to learn how to act,
Right.
and plus, dancing has never been my thing, but now I got
Mine
to learn
either.
how to do some Broadway dancing and different scenes and stuff, man. And
Right.
it was incredible. It was a real challenge. I mean, because we rehearsed 5 days a week. It was 5 days a week, 8 hours a day. You know, And George Faison is not to be played with. George Faison is a serious choreographer and director. He's the guy that directed. He did the Wiz. He choreographed the Wiz,
Mm-hmm.
and he's done some movies. And he had worked with people like Michael Jackson and
Right.
Earth, Wind and Fire, and a whole bunch of people.
Mm-hmm.
So I was kind of scared of him, man, when I first met him, because he had that real New York attitude. He didn't care. He was gonna come with it 100. You know
Right.
what I'm
Right.
saying? So I had to get used to that. But and just to see how theater worked. And I'm not talking about a little play that they threw together. This was a pre-Broadway show. We had Broadway producers and sets and props, and
Wow.
it was a union show.
Wow.
And it was an amazing show. Aretha Franklin was supposed to star as Mahalia, and we were in rehearsal, and for some reason she decided that she wasn't going to do it. You know, I know at one point she had gotten to the point where she didn't, like to fly
Right.
anymore. So I didn't
Mm-hmm.
know. I didn't know if that had something to do with it. But her singers were in rehearsal with us. Margaret Branch and Sandra Fever and all of them. We were rehearsing, and then suddenly they told us we had to take a break, take a hiatus. So we did that, and a few weeks later, they came back and said that Jennifer Holliday was going to do the role of Mahalia.
Wow.
And they put the show together. We went out on tour for about 7 months. We sold out everywhere we
Wow.
went.
Mhm.
It was incredible. So that was how I got my first experience with doing plays.
So let me ask you this question. I'm going to take you back to sleeping in vans and eating bologna sandwiches.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah.
Let me ask you this question. When did you realize that you had made it? And what was that experience like?
Uh, well, I guess the beginning of that was when I did a record with Dionne Warwick.
Wow. The legend.
And yeah, Burt Bacharach
Yes.
produced the record.
Wow.
He and his wife Carol Bear
Yes.
Sager wrote the record.
Yes.
And I'm sitting in his penthouse in New York,
Wow.
talking to him and Dion, and then the next thing I know, I'm flying out to California, and then the next thing I know, I'm on the Tonight Show. Johnny Carson and Dion is introducing me, having me to come out,
Mm.
sing with her.
Wow.
And the response was just crazy, man. It was overwhelming. So I said, I guess I'm doing okay. Yeah, yeah. I can see a
The
difference
Tonight
from the
Show.
pan and the bologna to right now. So
Right. Man,
yeah,
you talking about a husband and wife duo who have written for Natalie Cole, Whitney Houston, Aretha
yeah,
Franklin, Celine Dion. Man, you were thrown into the fire of like the top, right? At one
yes,
time. Dionne Warwick, she was way before her time. She crossed
yeah.
over when nobody was really doing it as a black female
Not
singer.
not crossing over like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this question. In where you're at now as a veteran, a legend, an icon in the industry,
Yes.
do you ever miss the fried bologna sandwiches?
Man, look here, I'll go in the kitchen and throw some bologna in a frying pan right now and make one of the sandwiches.
Right.
My friend Bernard Bell, Regina Bell's brother, we always joke about that, man. How them fried bologna sandwiches are good.
Especially when they start swelling up and you have to cut it
Woo!
so it can
You
go
Cut
gotta
holes
together.
in the
take
middle.
a knife and cut it, to get that pucker out of it.
Right. Now you know what I love about you is that you still have not forgotten your church foundation and your gospel roots because you have a new single out called Trust in Me. So it's
Yeah.
come back full circle. Let's talk about what you're doing now with this Trust in Me.
Well, Trust in Me is a song that I wrote, and I wrote it as a duet for myself and my wife Genovia. And when all this stuff started going down,
Hmm.
with the pandemic, and it's been hard, because you can't go out and work.
Right.
Mhm.
You can't go out and work, and it's just challenging, even emotionally and mentally, it's
Hmm.
challenging,
Hmm.
and not knowing, what the future holds. I mean, when everything was regular, I always knew that I was going to go out and I was going to work a certain amount of weeks, a certain amount of dates in a year,
Right.
pretty much it all just came, it always happened. But with this, it's a different thing. So I think it was a very appropriate time for me to release that song.
Yes.
And I wrote that song sitting in a hotel room, even before the pandemic came, just,
Wow.
thinking about my life and how, times when I didn't know, which way to go. I didn't know what was around the corner. I wrote it to encourage myself, and then this thing came along and I told my manager, Prince Levy, I said, man, we gotta, we need to release this. And trust in me, came out, and there's so many people that I played it for that love it. I remember Will Downing called me and said, well, I've got my radio show now, so I want you
Yes.
to come on because I love the song and I want to do an interview. And he knows me and my wife. I go back with Will way back 30 plus years
Wow.
from Brooklyn,
Yes.
Will's from Brooklyn. And I just think that, I think God gave me that song, and I
Yes.
think I think it's encouraged a lot of people because that's all we can do.
Yeah.
What
You,
else can you do?
you know one thing, Brother Jones, is that the Will Downings, he actually tunes into the show,
Yes.
and we actually got to do an interview with him. But
Mm-hmm.
one of the amazing things about you artists, you veterans, is
Mm-hmm.
that you always are encouraging other young artists and
Mm-hmm.
people that are coming up. Robert Earl Dean is actually getting ready to put out a project and had put out a crowdfunding campaign, and lo and behold, Will Downing literally gave to the
Yes.
campaign,
What a
and
shock.
it shocked a lot of people that when God gives you favor. And
My
so
God.
I want to say that God has favor on your life. Because of all the things that he has brought you through and blessed you with a beautiful wife and all the other things. Do you have, what is the message you have for up and coming artists? This is
Mm-hmm.
Independent Friday.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And how can they stay as level headed as we see you are today?
Well, I think that they have to, they have to keep it 100, as they say. You have to realize that no matter who you are or how much talent you have, your help comes from God.
Hmm.
That's the bottom line. You know, and in this industry, there are peaks and valleys.
Hmm.
So you have to be grounded and be able to believe and trust. When nobody else does.
Yes.
You
Hmm.
know, there have been times when I've done records and I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know I was going to get a number one record or number two or number three or
Mm-hmm.
top five record.
Mm-hmm.
I just did what I do,
Hmm.
and you have to believe in what you do. And actually, you have to make sure that what you're believing in is the best that you have. It's quality. You know
Amen.
what
Yes.
I'm saying? Don't get into yourself so much till you think everything you do is the bomb. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying?
Yes, sir.
You got to be objective, and you got to kind of poll other people.
Hmm.
What you think about this? What you think about that? And that's what I do, and I know that in Him I move and I have my being.
Yes,
Hmm.
sir.
No
Yes,
matter
sir.
what, and that's what I believe, and that's what I stick to.
All right. So Robert O'Dean, I want you to ask the famous question. Okay,
Okay.
here you go.
Okay. I'm just getting all this you're giving, man, because I'm just in awe because I'm such a fan of yours. But so let me get
Thank
back to
you.
my professional mode. Okay,
Okay.
if you had a chance to put together the Glenn Jones Presents tour concert, who would it feature? They could be dead or alive. Who would be the artist that you would have on your bill, dead or alive?
Is it R&B or
It's
is it
whoever you
gospel?
want it to be. R&B, any B you want it to be.
Whitney Houston,
Woo,
Donny Hathaway,
woo.
uh, Zenobia Jeter,
Of course.
Dave Hollister,
Wow.
Iana Crawley. Um, who else would it be? Fantasia,
Wow.
um, uh, Layla Hathaway,
Wow.
uh, Aretha Franklin. I mean, I was close, with her at one time. I mean, she gave me a couple of great opportunities. I used to do Caesar's Palace with her. That was an amazing thing. I did Radio City with her.
Wow.
I'm talking about, going out, I'm not talking about opening up for her, but I'm talking about standing on stage with her, singing songs together, with a, 30-piece orchestra,
Wow.
going to Detroit, doing her birthday parties, all of that stuff, So those are people I probably would call.
Okay, so brother Glenn, I don't want to have my feelings hurt about not getting my name called in the number.
Oh God.
I'm anointed. I'm anointed
To pray.
to pray and to host. And here's my signature. Shh, I can quiet the audience for you.
You got that from James
Wait,
Cleveland.
can I get a gig?
I think you stole that from James Cleveland.
Yes, sir.
Well, he was a
Copyright
mentor to
infringement.
he was a
Copyright
mentor to so
infringement.
many people. But his shush was like, man, y'all being too loud. My shush is the smooth. Listen, you got to listen to the difference. His was like shh. Mine said shh. See the difference?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
so we'll save him. We'll save him for something else.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
we love asking that question because
Yes.
there's this so much great talent out there,
Yes.
and we love to see what every artist is going to say. The
Right.
craziest thing is this is the first time we ever heard somebody say Donny Hathaway and Layla Hathaway.
Right. They
which is-
normally say one or the other.
yeah,
Nah, both of them.
yeah, and that's crazy.
Now, when is your wife going to at least bless us with a single? The world in this generation, Glenn, seriously, need to hear her.
Well, she has an album. I wrote and produced a record on her, so we are trying to get in position to release that. The music business is so different now.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of challenges. And the thing is that you can do a record, but you still need to have the tools to market the record.
Right.
And when I say tools, I mean, money. You know what
Yes,
I'm
sir.
saying?
Yes, sir.
Like it makes everything happen. So, but she has a great record. I did like 12 songs on her.
Well, let me tell you this: we are a BDS reporting station,
All right.
and,
Yeah.
and we will be your family station on the West Coast whenever you
Oh,
need
man.
anything, because we're in 21 countries as well as being viewed and listened to. So I'm telling you,
Wow.
from one of your top fans, I'm knocking all your fans out the way.
Yeah.
Your
Yeah.
wife is your first one, and your
Yeah.
family, and then I'm third.
Come on with it, Robert.
I'm here, brother. The Robert O'Dean Report. I'm telling you to the world right now, whatever you need from us, brother,
Yes.
don't hesitate to ask. 'Cause I'm telling you, this is such an honor to have you here. You're a man of class and integrity, and those are things that God always blesses. That's why you're lasting so long. So many artists have come and gone, and they're not working. You can do a virtual concert right now, and people will pack it out. Hint, hint, because that's what people are doing now.
Well, I've always heard people say that sometimes we're living off of other people's prayers.
Right.
And my mother was serious. She was anointed, and she didn't talk about it. She walked the walk.
Yes.
And I truly believe that a lot of favor that I have,
Hmm.
is because of her. And she said that, when I was born, she took me, she gave me back to God, and she always said that I was anointed. I'm not saying that. That's what she said. So, I believe that, and I just try to, live my life in a simple way, and I try to treat people like I want to be treated. I'm a man of my word,
Yes.
and I try to be fair. So, I think it served me.
Yes, sir.
Well, brother, we appreciate all
Yes,
that
sir.
you as well as your wife has done.
Yes, sir.
There's a new platform that we are working with, and when we get offline, we want to share it with you. But we really believe that a virtual concert between you and your wife would be
Yeah.
a blockbuster concert, and y'all be able to sit at your home and be like, wow,
Yeah.
we might never tour again because this right here,
Yeah.
is what it. But hit us up offline.
And don't hang up. after
You
the
know
interview.
that Robert O'Dean is one of the best radio promoters and one of the best voices. And when it comes out to pushing good music and gospel music, especially. But what we are here to do on this Independent Friday,
Yes.
we're always about serving the artists. We're always about putting good music into
Yes.
rotation so that people will be able to not only rejoice and be happy, but also they will be able to hear a variety of the diaspora of music that literally basically shapes the world that we live in. And I thank our program director, Evangel, for allowing us this freedom to do the interviews the way we do it and to interview the people we desire to interview, because we want to let people know, especially the artists know, that God will make room for your gift if you first put him first.
Yes, and no matter what genre of music that it is, because we church folk get caught up on they ain't saying gospel.
Yeah.
God made every gift perfect. We
See,
taint it when we do other things, but I don't care what nobody say. Everybody was not made to sing gospel music. He had to get
no,
us in other areas in
For us
order
to
for the light
minister.
to shine.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
you're right.
light don't need to be around light. We need to go into darkness and make a
You
difference. And I know your music has. Your music is special. It touches the soul. And what comes from the
thank
heart,
you.
it always reaches the heart.
Thank you. Well, I just want to say one thing. You guys sound like my mother, because that's one thing that she used to tell me. She told me two things. She said that she told me my life was in God's hands,
Yes.
and she told me that my gift would make room for me, and that's what's happened. And I want to thank you guys, because we need y'all. We need people like yourself. As artists. As veteran artists that have had longevity.
Yes.
Because sometimes if it's not new, or if it's not younger, then people don't necessarily give it an opportunity, and it
Hmm.
can be great music, can be a great record. But I want to thank both of you brothers for this opportunity.
Yes. And tell your wife we would like to interview her as well.
I'm gonna tell her. I'm gonna
Yeah.
tell her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and real talk, I want to be selfish about it. Tell her we want to be able to interview her by herself. Then we want to bring y'all back together,
As a
and
couple that's a
and,
power couple.
and then we
Yeah.
want to get you guys together because and I want to say this. You know how they have this whole thing about black love and all of that. I think it's so important that when you have couples that are in the
Industry.
industry, how they survive. Those stories are just amazing for couples that are trying to be in this industry.
Yeah, because it's challenging. It's very challenging. But thank God. We just try to keep God first, and just sometimes that things are not going to be great all the time. Like I
Right.
said, there's the peaks and valleys.
Yes.
And you just have to believe in one another, and just try to make it to the next point. And just sometimes your history, the
Right.
memories that you have from days gone by, are the things that keeps you encouraged and keeps you going and keeps you together.
And if God is for you, who can be against
Against
Yes,
you?
you.
And I'm
that's right.
telling you, if nobody ever told you, my brother, you have impacted my life. A lot of times we don't
Thank
tell
you.
the artists, and they go through things because the devil tries to get in their head, and we're not
Yeah.
doing this. But just know, this young man
Mhm.
right here,
Yes,
I grew
sir.
up on your music, and I'm inspired and influenced by you and your wife.
Thank you, Robert. I appreciate that.
Well, can you pitch us this new song and we're gonna play it right here on God Radio One?
Dot
Okay,
com.
this new song that you're about to hear is the second single from my forthcoming album on the Talent Room Entertainment label, which is my record label.
Wow.
And it's a song that I wrote and co-produced. It's called "Trust in Me," featuring Genonia Jeter.
Right here on God Radio One. Hold on, y'all.